to have you all here bright and early on a Friday morning for the first of the budget votes. I am going to begin by going through the members present. I just want to firstly find out from Mr. Kutsia if we have any apologies for today, either officials or members.
Good morning, Chairperson. There's no apologies received, sir.
All right. Thanks very much. Colleagues, if you are happy, what we are going to do is vote 9 first. That will be the vote on environmental affairs and development planning. That will comprise the first part of our morning, and then later on this afternoon at 11:30 we will reconvene for the local government section. Mr. Kutsia, can I just confirm that is all correct and in order?
That's 100%, Chair. We can go.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so what we're going to do then, without any further ado, is just go through the members present. If we can just have a roll call. If you can just, when I say your name, just confirm that you are present. Firstly, Noko Masipa, Member Masipa.
Present. Thank you. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Chair.
Good morning, Member Masipa. Member Wessels.
I am present, Chair. Thank you very much.
Member Van Wyk.
Good morning, Chair. I am present.
Member Stoffel.
Good morning, Chairperson. Present, Chair.
Member Constable.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I am present, Chair.
Thank you so much. And Member Murray.
Good morning, Chair. I'm present.
Thank you so much. All right, we are then going to move on swiftly to the vote, which is contained in pages 195 to pages 219 in the blue book that was distributed and discussed, obviously, yesterday during our budget deliberation meeting as well. What we are then going to do is ask the department just to give us a brief outline of the vote, after which we will then put the matter to the committee for questions of clarity, any other inputs, and closing remarks from the Minister with the HOD, and then we put it to a vote after that. So I have not checked yet. Is Minister Bedell present on the meeting? My apologies. I'm just...
Yes, Chair. I'm on the meeting.
Okay, fantastic. Minister, my apologies for not welcoming you formally earlier.
No.
Big welcome to you as well. I'll hand over then to you and Mr. Gerber and the team, and you can then take it away.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to the members of the committee and to all my colleagues on the platform. Good morning, and thank you for availing yourselves for this session. Honourable Chair and Honourable Committee members, thank you for the opportunity to present the 2025-2026 adjusted estimate for Vote 9, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, to the Standing Committee. The adjusted estimate process allows us to realign our budget based on performance, updated priorities, and the financial reality facing the province. During the briefing session with the Standing Committee, it was clear that both the department and Cape Nature are performing well in terms of their 2025-2026 annual performance plans and in terms of their 2025-2026 budget allocations. Originally, the original allocations for Vote 9 for 2025-2026 was 669,944,000 rand. After adjustments, the revised budget is 648,168,000 rand. This represents a net decrease of 21,776,000 rand. Honourable Chair and committee members, colleagues, the 2025-2026 adjusted estimate reflects responsible realignment of funds, ensuring that essential environmental and developmental priorities remain supported and position the department to continue delivering on its mandate. Despite fiscal pressures, our focus remains on sustainability, efficiency, and the long-term resilience of the Western Cape. With that, I'm going to hand over to the HOD Gerber to take us through the presentation that will give us more information. So with that, I'm going to hand over to HOD Gerber. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Morning, Chair, morning, honourable members and colleagues in the meeting. Thank you for the opportunity for us to be here before you today in terms of the adjustment estimates. We have put together a presentation just to highlight a number of factors, and I'm actually going to, without any further delay, ask Lyndon Southgate to please flag the presentation and to take us through that, and then obviously the officials are in the meeting to answer any questions or respond to any comments that the members might have. Lyndon. Thanks, Lyndon.
Good morning, everybody. Just give me a second to bring up the presentation. Is the presentation visible?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning. So for the 25-26 adjustment, the vote 9 had an original budget of 669 million. The vote does comprise of the department and our public entity Cape Nature. Cape Nature had no adjustments to the original budget, and the department experienced a net adjustment, a decrease of 21.7 million. How this came about is the department got an increase into the budget of 3.2 million, with our 700,000 from our revenue retention request for 24-25, as well as a 2.5 million from environmental and wildlife management. The department also had a decrease in their budget to the value of 24.9 million. The first item is our COE underspending, and this was 9.3 million. And this was due to vacancies within the department during the financial year, as well as experiencing lengthy recruitment processes. So the underspending, we felt that it would be better used across the MTIF, and more detail about that will be in our slides to follow. There was also an underspending of a realignment of 13.3 million of projects that we will also realign across the MTIF budget, as well as municipal transfers in respect of the RC program, and then as well as a shift to the Department of the Premier to the value of 526,000, and this was for the financial automation project. And this, in a net, had a decrease of 21.7 million. So, moving on to our next slide, with the decrease explained into our economic classification. So our compensation of employees had a net decrease of 13.8 million. And this comprised of our 9.3 million mentioned in our previous slide, as well as a reprioritization to our leave gratuities of 859,000. And this is paid to employees that have exited the department, as well as 851,000, which was reprioritized to our other economic classifications. And then 2.8 million of the project realignment had an had a COE element to it, and that is how the 13.8 million came about. Our goods and services decreased 16.1 million. And this was in respect of the 30 million with the project realignment mentioned in the previous slide, as well as reclassification of our air quality funding. So our air quality funding was against a current item. However, the air quality funding was to procure analyzers, and which is of a capital nature. So this has been reclassified to the capital economic classification. And this was to the value of 5.2 million. And then some reprioritizations that we spoke about, which was an increase of 1.3 million into our goods and services. And this was for reprioritization of funding required in goods and services. Then our transfers and subsidy had an increase of 1.5 million. And this came about the 2.5 million increase for the wildlife support management, as well as the 859 for the leak gratuity. And then our decrease came about the 1.8 million for the RCEP program. And then lastly, our capital assets, this had an increase of 6.6 million. This came about the air quality analyzers that I've spoke about to the value of 5.3 million. And then also we were the pilot department for the Windows 11 compatibility project. And this required the procurement of new computers because the previous computers were not Windows 11 compatible. And then also some reprioritization for other computer refresh. And this is how our adjustments were impacted our economic classification. This is to represent how the adjustments affected the department per program within the department. Then the adjustments were realigned across the MTF. It was not just realigned for the first year, it was realigned across the MTF. And this was also included the 24-25 revenue retention, and the net effect across the MTF was 27 million. Then just some detail, which I won't go into much detail, but these are just how the realignment across the MTF was per project for more detail. And then we just want to highlight some risks and opportunities that was identified and how our adjustments came about. So for the, we do experience some risk with regards to our COE. We do have very high OSD remains a challenge for us, especially because it is highly skilled professionals and they are highly marketable. So we do experience a lot of exits in the department. Then the opportunity also exists where it includes longer term contracts for us. And then the department is looking at reviewing our organizational macro structure, and hopefully this will assist our COE management better. Then also looking at our projects. So our procurement remains a challenge, especially where we get limited to no responses on our requests for advertising. And then also our municipal readiness, and this is where the RC program came in, where they then decided to see some transfers to municipalities because they were not ready to receive it. And this poses a huge risk for us. And all in all, the realignment creates an opportunity for us to do better planning and delivering as we go into our new financial year. Then lastly, just to wrap up, the adjustment estimates does enable us to have strategic alignment, address COE sustainability, and to align provincial and departmental priorities and support municipalities better. Thank you for the opportunity to present the adjustment estimates. That is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Lyndall. Chair, we then hand back to the chair. If there's any questions or comments, that the team is here to answer. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you very much, Minister, Mr. Gerber and your team. Colleagues, we then will open up or questions of clarity or any other inputs. If I can also just ask, in line with the standing rules for virtual meetings, that when you speak, if you can just pop your camera on. There is no obligation to have your camera on for the entire meeting. But in terms of the current rules, if you could please put your camera on so we can see you and interact, it makes the meetings a lot more enjoyable when we can see your lovely faces. So colleagues, please feel free to raise hands on any questions of clarity or inputs. Member Masipa is first, and we'll then see as we go if any other hands come up. I see Member Constable will be next after that. Member Masipa.
Thank you, Chairperson, and once again, good morning, Minister and HOD and the officials. Chair, really, mine is just really what I reiterated yesterday, just to make a point with regards to filling of posts, and I know that it was really highlighted, but I think it's an area that maybe cabinet needs to look at, from a perspective of saying, how then do we engage the what you call the Public Service Commission to really just kind of make a leaner process of filling the posts, because we note that the cost of compensation with regards to employees, what you call the environments there in terms of budgets as such, is quite a lot. Yeah, that's really just a point that I'm really just emphasizing.
Sorry, Member Masipa, I don't want to interrupt you. If you just pause for a second, Member Masipa. I'm going to ask if you can come back after this round and ask questions again. Your bandwidth is a little bit low. It might be because the video is on. Obviously, that's an ongoing challenge when it comes to having the videos. But let's take Member Constable, Stoffel, and Marais, and then I'll give you another opportunity. Maybe see if you can just connect to a different signal. Member Constable. Member Constable.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Member Constable, you can go ahead.
Chair, thank you very much, and thanks, colleagues, for the presentation. Chair, this maybe is not a question, but more than a comment, and it goes to the minister. We had a lot of discussions previously with regards to the workload of this department, and we advocate, because of the workload and what this department needs to do, we advocate for more funding, specifically for this department to assist municipalities on a lot of issues. Yet we are sitting here again seeing a decrease, and I understand. I understand the reasons for the decrease, but what I don't understand is how will we then support municipalities with regards specifically landfill sites, illegal dumpings and stuff within municipal areas, and also appoint suitable staff within this specific department. I think, Mr. Gerber, we had this discussion previously also. So mine is just to understand what is really happening in the Department of Environmental Affairs, and why are we taking money away whilst we have so much to do, so much to assist municipalities with. Even in your own part, there's people that you need to appoint to do the work. The rules, the workload is very high, and we don't have capable people in the department to do the work. So, Chair, this is just it's just for me to understand the rationale of taking away money from. Now, it's not a lot of money, but still, it will assist this department to at least do better. I don't know if you understand what I'm asking, but yeah, for me, it doesn't make sense. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Constable. No, I think your question is very clear. So I think we all understood it. There was a little bit of bandwidth issues at the end, but I think your message came across perfectly. Member Stoffel.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, everybody on the platform, and good morning to the MEC and also the HOD and its own entire team. Chair, can I proceed? Am I audible?
Yes, you are, ma'am.
Chair, the camera is, I'm not a person of a camera. Can I switch it off? You have seen me, Chair.
Yes, you are welcome to switch it off if you'd like. We'd prefer to have them on, but I can see you struggling a little bit with balancing it, so that's
right,
not
yes.
a problem. Not a problem. You can turn it off. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Yes, Chair, back to the platform. Chair, I want to thank the department for such good work they are doing in terms of this department. We are faced with a very challenged department. And as the HOD have indicated, and also the MEC, we are still faced with a lot of challenges. And I know, Chair, for some people, it was like I'm agitating some of the people now on the group or on the platform. But Chair, allow me to mention this. And from the African national perspective or point, we still believe, Chair, within the province, there is still a need for the environmental commissioner. And I will keep agitating the department around it. Because, Chair, in the absence of that commissioner, I want to know what concrete step will the department take to comply with Rule 223, clause 1, and restore the independent environmental oversight by appointing this environmental committee. Because there's an oversight, Chair, that this committee is ignoring. And one of our main role or our obligations as this committee is an oversight role. So, Chair, I'm trying to agitate this, or I'm agitating the department to say they must appoint this person. I know to say there's no money, and what is the use for this commissioner, and what is this they will use. There's a lot of money being received from other departments that we think it's not money needed, but this department needs that commissioner. Then, and I'm referring in terms of point of reference, I'm on 195, Chair, whereby the heading is saying aim to promote a resilient, sustainable, quality and inclusive living environment in support of human well-being. And my point that I'm making, I'm referring to that heading. And the point of reference to support my statement is the department continues to ignore the legal requirements to appoint a commissioner for the environmental, undermining an independent oversight and accountability. So my second question is also on 195, the adjusted appropriation. And then in terms of point of reference, we are saying the department budget was reduced as been mentioned by the MEC with 21,776,000, mainly due to slower than anticipated filling of post office member Masipa have touched on it. realignment of an earmarked funds and surrendering of funds for delayed projects. Now, my question there is, what specific measures have the department implemented to mitigate the impact of that 21,706,000 budget reduction? And how will this affect service delivery and project timelines? And then Chair, I go to my third question. That one is on 201, whereby they say other adjustments. Office 2.3 million was rolled over for ongoing projects, including IT upgrades and environmental management initiatives. There seems to be consistent issues with the procurement, Chair, in this department. And also when add vacancies to that list. Can the department provide details on the projects benefiting from the 3.2 million rollover, and what are the expected outcomes and timelines for these initiatives? I don't know, Chair, whether I can go on. I don't want to.
I tell you what, Member Stoffel, if you'd like, I mean, I'm more than happy to give you another opportunity after the first round. So if you prefer to hold some of the other questions, then you can ask them again in the next round. We'll give Member Maria opportunity, take some answers, and then we'll come back. Okay, is that all right?
Yeah. Let me just ask my fourth one also on 201. Then I will. Then you can take them over. Perfect. Shifting of funds between votes, 526 million shifted to vote 1, Department of Premier for appointment of a business analyst for the automation of digitation. What is the anticipated impact of shifting 526 million to the Department of the Premier for business processes automation, and how will this improve the DEA and DP financial management? I will pause there, Chair.
Thank you very much. Member Marais, and then, sorry, I also need to give Member Masipa just an opportunity. We got most of what he said, but just to summarize those last little bits. Member Marais first.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'm going to go gently into this session by first thanking the Minister for the presentation and the department.
It's just me.
However,
just try again.
Okay, I'm going to put my camera off, Chair, now that you've seen me. Hope my sound quality will be better now. Am I audible, Chairperson?
Go.
Okay, Chairperson, I just want to go into this session with the department by first thanking them for the presentation and for this very important step that we're taking today in making adjustments, and I want to express my concern. My concern will always remain that the independence of an environmental impact assessor or that particular function is absent, and that is always going to be my my starting point, because the Western Cape is such a beautiful province, and the environment is such an important asset to the Western Cape in terms of tourist attraction and so on. And we have a lot of challenges from land invasion, protected areas that are being invaded and polluted. And then we have an underspending in this very department that is so disappointing. And although I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of some of my concerns later, I wanted to express my concern in the opening to this particular session, and also in terms of you know, we talk about spatial transformation, and we need to really look at how this spatial transformation is evolving in the Western Cape, not specifically to our advantage, but to our disadvantage, as spatial development is becoming a word that is not being really exercised, because we cannot do so as land and open spaces are being invaded. So how do we even plan for 10, 20, or 15 to 20 years in terms of what the future of the Western Cape will look like? But that is just my opening remarks. With my next round, I will ask specific questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Murray. Member Masipa, and then I'm going to take Member Nkondo, who's also got a hand up. But Member Masipa, first, if you can just clarify your inputs from earlier. We do seem to be struggling with the bandwidth, which is a shame, but it is unfortunately a bit of a challenge with trying to get the videos on at the same time. So colleagues, don't worry about the videos then. Member Masipa, if you can just try get your inputs. Thanks.
Thank you. And Chair, we don't have much time.
I'm sorry, Member Masipa, your bandwidth is again very low, so it's not going to work. If I can ask you, maybe if you can just type your input in the chat box, and we'll then move on to Member Nkondo. Member Nkondo. Just unmute yourself, Member Nkondo.
Morning, Chair. To save my bandwidth, I'm also going to close my video.
That's perfect,
Chair,
no problem.
thank you so much. My question is on page 351 of the book and page 352. It relates to the shifting of funding both in program 1 and also in program 2. As it relates to the COE for CDWs. Now, I'm interested to know of how many are these CDW positions whose funds are being shifted. How many were these posts and where exactly were these CDW post positions were located in the department? If we can just get an understanding, because one sees that COE is the biggest issue in terms of the shifts and also the reallocation of funding. Secondly, in page 355, as it relates to other adjustments, once again, we see there in program 1, program 2, and program 3 that there is the similar. And in that one, I want to understand what are these reasons of delaying to fill vacancies? Because it speaks about slower anticipated filling of posts to be reallocated to 2026, 2027. And I'm raising this, Chair, because this question in most of the departments, always recurs. And one is not sure whether it's a planning issue or what exactly is the problem. Because if there is a post in the organogram and there is a recruitment a strategy and a plan of the HR, both of the department and as oversighted by the Premier, the assumption is understanding the markets, because you are not going to be starting to do the recruitment only this year. You would have understood the market over time of how long does it take to fill vacancies of specific positions, and how do you put different methods that are going to help you to meet your targets, because there is a demand for those positions to fulfill particular obligations in your annual performance indicators. So one gets to be very concerned with this notion of monies that gets to be reallocated to outer years, whilst the money was approved initially, because this money would have been approved with this particular department having argued that it needs this money in this financial year, so that it can, in this financial year, appoint these particular positions. So I'm sincerely worried about this, and I would like to get an understanding about it. And then on program 3, Chair, the almost 6 million, because it's about 5.8, the money that is surrendered because of the additional capacity of water and wastewater load shedding. If maybe a more explanation can be given, because now this money is being moved to, again, outer years, 2026, 27, to provide the funding for the energy specialist providers. Once again, Chair, it's a similar question I'm trying to understand of what exactly is the issue here. What is this phenomenon of requesting money, getting the money approved, and then in the middle of the adjustment budget, you are then moving again the goalpost of delivery and budget spending, to outer years? I'm very concerned about this phenomenon, and I think one had raised it even yesterday with the provincial treasury about this notion of reallocation of money. And lastly, Chair, on the money that is surrendered for capacity building and training, it is said it's because the institute does not allow, or due to the limitation placed on the number of online participants. I'm not understanding. Was this not known and by the department when this program of capacity building was going to be implemented? And what is the implication when you surrender this money? Does it mean you no longer need this training that you would have put up now that this money is being surrendered because online participation is not allowed? So maybe if they can clarify those issues. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Member Nkondlo. I was attempting to follow along in the book a bit. I think there might be a discrepancy between some of the numbers and some of the issues and items, but I'm going to allow the officials to respond as they wish with all of those points that were raised. I think some of them might fall in the local government space as opposed to the environment and development planning space. But I'm going to hand over to Minister and Mr. Gerber to respond. I know there were quite a few questions and inputs in that round, and then we'll take another round after that. Thank you.
Yeah, Chairperson, before I hand over to the HOD, let me tackle the Environmental Commissioner. We differ, and that is it. We'll keep on going on in circles on this debate. We're coming on for years. When the commissioner, when the drafters of the Western Cape Constitution 30 years ago put that in, there haven't been a lot of environmental legislation in place. We can give you the whole list of changes. We currently, as I said here, also re-look at some of our legislation because we move on. If there's members that think that a commissioner will stop land invasions, well, then you don't understand the role of the commissioner. The police can't stop it. So I don't know how a commissioner will stop it. And it's not only a commissioner, there will need to be an office. And that's going to be quite expensive. We differ, and we're quite happy currently that there's enough balance within the system. If we make a mistake, there's the public protector, there's the courts, and the quicker we get into the courts in some of these instances, the better, because we also need to address poverty and we need to find the balance between economic growth and the environment, and especially growing the green economy. So on that, let me stop my comments there, and then I will hand over to the HOD. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, members, for those questions. In terms of Member Masipa, who touched on the filling of posts, and one or two of the other members have also touched on that. We do have a specific process in place through which we very specifically consider when posts become vacant, whether to again fund the filling of such a post, or whether we should use the resources differently. Once it is decided that that a vacant post will remain funded, then very specifically we're tracking the filling of those posts. We're currently tracking the filling of 27 posts, because we did have, as we reported in terms of the last year's annual report, but also more recently in terms of the latest performance, that we've had a number of vacancies recently. Some of those are retirements, but some of those are people being appointed by municipalities in particular, with some of the staff members, the occupational specific dispensation, those scarce skills being in high demand. And although we do also have strategies in place, the OS occupational specific dispensation itself by design was to attract and retain staff, because it's a specific career path that is provided for, and notch increases and grade progressions, and more notches to provide for that path. So that at least is available, and it has resulted in us being able to attract and retain. But at times there are opportunities in the municipalities who do pay better salaries, and then our staff that are well trained and well developed and have gained the experience would then go for those posts. And we, on the one hand, it creates a challenge for us in terms of our vacancies, but of course we train them up to be very good officials, and then they're providing good service in another organ of state. So they're not lost to the system. They're still contributing, just in a different capacity. But in terms of the filling of the post, some of it is dependent on systems being implemented and coordinated at the national level. The job evaluation system have caused some issues. We did not have that system procured in the country for a number of years, and we had to do benchmarking and that which was available. But we are now working closely with the Department of the Premier in terms of the new job evaluation system to make sure that that those posts that require job evaluation, that we don't have unnecessary delays there. And then where there are delays, sometimes for some of the posts, for one post, we'll get more than 2,500 applications. So it is quite a process to then do a long list, to do a short list, to interview, arrange for interviews, interview candidates. We also do have it that many candidates that are shortlisted would also decline, some of them immediately, but some of them, unfortunately, even though they have accepted the invitation to an interview, would on the day of the interview get back to us and then decline. We follow up with those candidates in terms of the reasons for doing so, and whether one needs to reschedule. But often it's just that they have other opportunities, that they're no longer interested in the particular post. So that's always unfortunate, because that in itself can cause delays. But yes, in terms of the workload, the question that was also asked in terms of what does it mean for our service delivery, for our projects, if we now do have these vacancies and it takes time to fill the post, what does it mean for projects where we have tried to procure the services of service providers
Morning, Saraj.
We've either had non-responses or bidders that do not qualify, and had to go back to the market and re-advertise. But in terms of, we manage that very closely in terms of the impact on our service delivery. Yes, it places strain on our existing teams, the remaining team members that have to then, we still are delivering against our targets. So that does come with the pressure on the teams, which is of concern for us. So we are continuously looking at the non-fiscal measures, at prioritization, at the things that we're able to do to manage those pressures. And we again busy with a very formal process to do that as part of the current organizational design. We're not only looking at what are the priorities and the things to achieve in the 5 years through the strategy and our service delivery. We're looking at the service delivery models and the business processes and the value chains, looking at how we can improve efficiencies and effectiveness, but also alleviate pressure in particular areas. But it's ongoing work, and the current organizational design process is critical to put us in a better position in terms of prioritization and the options that are available to us. So we are looking firstly within our available budget, but we also through the process looking at where is additional resource required. Do we need to shift the resources? What are we also taking back into the budgeting process with with Provincial Treasury in terms of where resources are required? We're also looking at alternative and blended finance and other financing and partnering approaches. So it's not only what we directly need to deliver and directly finance, it's also what we achieve with others. And a lot of our work there is key partnerships where our effort plus effort by others, 1 + 1 is way more ultimately than 2, whether it is through the biosphere reserves as a good example where we're supporting and we transferring limited funding to the biosphere reserves, but what they are then able to leverage and access and then deliver, such approaches are important to still manage our impact out there. We need to do better, and we're always busy exploring how do we make sure that we focus on the impact. And on the environmental commissioner, we are making sure that we're managing the impacts on the residents of the Western Cape, the impacts on the environment. So although there's a focus on compliance and the controls and the combined assurance environment, the key thing is the prioritization and tracking of that information in terms of where are we in terms of impact. We achieve our targets. We very specifically tracking environmental quality and working closely with the other authorities, the municipalities and others in that regard. And then when there are particular issues that emerge, whether it's complaints or incidents, in terms of the environmental legislation, in terms of our responsiveness, in terms of that, dealing with all those complaints, doing the law enforcement work, doing the monitoring work, and then also promoting compliance, promoting environmental performance. But yes, ongoing work. Of course, the resourcing is important. So because we would want to be even more responsive and do even better in particular areas, and that is the discussion with Provincial Treasury, even if we're exploring also alternative financing means. In terms of the waste management that was raised as an example, in terms of the pressure on the teams and the need for the municipal support, this is a critical area of work with the municipalities through firstly the gathering of information in terms of the state of affairs in each municipality when it comes to waste management and the waste management planning that happens, the designation of waste management officers, the municipal waste managers forum that we hold, and all the capacity building and sharing of best practices, and then the ongoing support to municipalities. Yes, it's critical that the municipalities themselves, have the plans in place and do their own prioritization. And then we are with the municipalities looking at the prioritization and the resourcing And the current proposal that we're busy working on is really to with the municipalities, get to a better place in terms of where we are, in terms of the levels of performance across the municipality, for instance, the municipal waste management facilities, and whether it is the restoration work, the closing of old sites, or the management and operation of new sites. And that program that we are busy developing, which would be more than a 3 billion rand program, working with Infrastructure South Africa, Municipal Infrastructure, the MISA also, and others, in terms of busy developing that program to really change where we're at across the province in terms of waste management. I'm going to, I'll ask Ronald Mukanya to come in terms of the question that was asked in terms of the expanded public works program and the work that's happening in that space and the implications. But just to say that in terms of the projects where there's an implications for where we're asking what we're really doing, although we're surrendering money now because of the filling of the vacant post and the projects where we've battled to timelessly obtain the services of a service provider, we have asked for that money to then be allocated. And that is what is currently in the adjustment estimate, that the money that we are surrendering now, we are getting back over the MTEF, and therefore the projects are proceeding, and we are filling the critical vacancies, and therefore we will still be achieving our targets, and the projects will still be proceeding. But Ronald, to just ask you to come in terms of the important question there by Member Nkondlo in terms of the expanded public works program. Thank you.
Thanks, HOD. Good morning, Minister. Good morning, members. Good morning, colleagues. I'm just going to switch off my camera to help out with the bandwidth. In relation to the question from Member Nkondlo, so we don't have any CDW workers in the department, so we don't run the community development works program at all. However, our HOD has alluded to the expanded public works program, which we do implement and run on the vote. Our implementation is done through our entity, which is Cape Nature. So effectively, Vote 9 implements the expanded public works program through Cape Nature. In relation to that program, we've never sent back budget or given up money. We religiously utilize all the funding that's allocated to us. And just for context as well, we are the best performing province in our sector nationally. So we have the highest set national target. And as a result, we continue to lobby our national colleagues to allocate us more budget because, yeah, we can actually do more. So that's the response I have. We don't send back any money and we religiously spend all our budget and meet our targets. Thank you, HOD.
Thank you, Ronald. Obviously, we always want to do better, and therefore the review of the programs and the reflection on what's working and not working and how do we scale. We have made specific proposals to Treasury and even to other funders that in terms of the expanded public works program that Cape Nature implements, that we really want to scale that and increase that, and therefore we are asking for additional resources in that space, because we have proven that it's an effective program. It really has a major impact in the community for those individuals, but also in those communities. This is across the rural landscape, and therefore we really want to build on that success and expand that program. Maybe then to ask Johannes, CFO, in terms of the automation, the question that was asked there, that is 500,000 Rand in terms of the automation project in the Department of the Premier, and it really is for the efficiencies and for the innovation that we want to bring. But to ask Johannes to speak to that question, thank you.
Thank you, HOD. Good morning, Chair and committee members. Minister and the rest of the colleagues. Yeah, so in terms of the 526,000 that was shifted to Department of the Premier, this is for our automation project within the financial sphere. So CI within the province is responsible for providing IT technology services to the departments. So through CI, we procure the service of a business analyst. So the business analyst is assisting us in looking into our financial processes, documentation, the respective processes, and then to come up with means to automate these particular business processes. So we are looking at the Power app platforms, and then with the assistance of the business analysts and our colleagues from CI, is to compile a documentation within the IT context that a lot of the calculations, the checking of certain governance requirements, those are performed within an automatic fashion. And this eventually will then reduce some of the risk pertaining to incorrect calculations or irregular or fruitless and wasteful expenditure to be incurred. So this is part of the ongoing process within the government, but within the department also, to be more efficient. We understand that we currently have capacity constraints. So through this process, we then try to alleviate the pressure on the officials, but then also to work smarter, be more efficient, and then process our payments and the related much more quicker. So that is on that particular one, and maybe I can just latch on to some of the other questions also. So the 2.5 million that one of the members mentioned, this is in terms of our ongoing support to municipalities also. So we received an additional allocation of 2.5 million, and this is for municipalities to improve their management of the human-wildlife interface, in particular for baboon management. To assist municipalities that they are able to manage these this particular conflict between humans and baboons in particular. The HOD did mention some of the projects that were affected by the allocation, but just to latch on some of them, they do speak to some of the coastal management lines. In this instance, we actually went out to advertise. We received some responses which were a bit expensive, but we're actually looking for more senior legal counsel to assist with the development of these coastal management lines. Then in terms of the township economy, one of our catalytic projects in Mossel Bay, also one of the support to the municipality, but the municipality on their side also we are busy engaging with them, getting the terms of reference really ready for this particular project, so that together with ourselves and the municipality, we can implement this project. Just in terms of other support to municipalities also, we mentioned earlier the reduction in the RCEP transfer. So on this particular one, some of the municipalities, and I think Saldanha in particular, they still need to get Transnet authorization approval for the land on which we intend to engage and create some assistance there. That was in the West Coast, where a Transnet authorization is required, and then to be followed by the site access agreements. So Saldanha has been challenged by staff turnover, and they had to follow a separate tender process for that one also. That impacted on the scope and the time to deliver on the project. Similar at Witzenberg municipality also, the project is quite complex. So we started off with a pre-feasibility assessment for the project, and then the transfer then delayed to the next financial year for implementation. So those are some of the matters that were addressed earlier. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Johannes. Chair, Johannes did not touch on the funding in terms of the baboon management. We've been, and I'll ask Marlene to Laros to also come in on the matter. We've been working closely with the municipalities. We're really trying to reset in terms of getting to a better place, and then moving forward, implementing those baboon management plans. So we were working closely with the City of Cape Town, with the Overstrand municipality, and others. It is an issue that the communities have consistently raised, that it's a priority need to be better managed. So we're trying to, through the baboon management plans that guides the work that will happen, make sure that we're in a better place. But Marlene, if you want to also speak to the baboon management matter, that would then be the last of the responses. Thank you.
Thank you, HOD, and good morning, members. Yes, indeed. HOD's mentioned the City of Cape Town, the Overstrand municipality, and also B2 municipality, where we are supporting and have been supporting the municipalities in dealing with their mandate in terms of improved waste management, improved education of visitors and the public, but specifically to reduce the conflict between people and wildlife in this interface. And while it obviously currently is the major risk involves baboons, and also just to note, also the risk to the baboons of being in urban areas or in areas where they are accessing unnatural foods and experiencing significant harm actually in entering those areas. The approach here is to really assist the municipalities in better managing that interface. And then that also leads into the broader space of wildlife-human interface management within municipalities. Thanks, HOD.
Thank you, Marlene. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Mr. Kaba. Yes, I mean, I think we can all agree that the situation with regards to the baboon management is in a far better position now than it was, let's say, a few years before the joint task team was established. And it really is great to see Sandparks as well stepping up and taking a lead after, I think, many years of there being a little bit of vagueness as to whose core responsibility it was, and the balance between City of Cape Town, Cape Nature, and Sandparks as the lead, I think is really good to see. I know that there are many differing opinions with regards to how to manage the challenges around baboons, particularly when it comes to human wildlife conflict and situations potentially in urban areas or areas where we have an urban edge. But I know that all parties are very dedicated to resolving those challenges. I see member Leon van Wyk has also mentioned that George has issues with baboons, which I'm sure the officials are also aware of. But obviously not just baboons. We have many other species as well, many of them critically endangered. And it's great to see the work that is being put in by Cape Nature and others. Before we go into another round of questions, and I just want to remind members that we are due to conclude this meeting by 9:45, and we still have to go to the vote. I just want to read out member Masipa's input because he has been struggling with his bandwidth, unfortunately. And he has said that his overall assessment is that the department is performing very well and he's pleased with the work. The accounting and results clearly reflect a high-performing unit. That said, his only concern relates to the downward adjustment. While he accepts and welcomes the realignment, he would like to make the following recommendation: that we should perhaps leverage the capacity of the red tape reduction unit or take the matter through Cabinet to identify and propose more efficient processes for making appointments, thereby minimizing delays and bureaucratic hurdles in the future. We can also give officials an opportunity to respond to that. I just want to check if my bandwidth is okay. I see my video a bit slowly. I'm going to turn my camera off just so that everybody can hear. Colleagues, let's take another round of questions. I know Member Stoffel definitely had some more questions, as did some of the other members. So please raise your hands. Member Nkondlo. All right, just Member Nkondlo for now. Member Nkondlo.
No, Chair. Let me first apologize because I had mixed the local government questions with mine, so the
Not a problem.
relevance.
Not a
So I
problem.
just wanted to make that apology upfront to the department. Chair, I think whilst that apology was raised, I think the concern to me, I think on the realignment still remains because as one, I think looks at the 21.7 adjusted funds. I think the notion of the realignment of these funds still is applicable to Program 4, Program 5, Program 7. I think to the tune of about 13 million, almost, I think, almost half of this amount. And I think, Chair, for me, I remain concerned in terms of planning, and that's the argument that I was making earlier. What then becomes the biggest problem that we're seeing with these particular projects that have been approved earlier on? Because when the 2.7 million of realignment in respect of the economic growth and jobs flagship, is now such money being moved for the utilization in 2026 and 2027. One asks, what has happened to that plan for this financial year, and what would have been the predetermined targets, for this particular program in this financial year? Because as it is being moved to the next year, surely it was residing in the annual plan of this particular financial year, including the 2.4 being realigned in respect to the regional socio-economic project for 2026-2027. So I remain, Minister and HOD, concerned about this issue of realignment, because for me it opens up and allows a window of multi-year planning, because you use 1 year, you go and argue for money, then you come back and you want now to already use the money of this financial year to influence and decide on the budget of the following year, whilst you have not achieved what you needed to achieve and what you would have committed for in this current year. So I think for me, I think that is a big gripe, Chairperson, that I really need us to speak to. And I think I recall, I think from the presentation of the department also indicating, I think this particular challenge of attrition in as far as people leaving the employ. And my question would be, because there's nothing that we can do with that, especially on specialized services, but do we have an agile succession planning, where we are able to ensure that it doesn't take a longer time to then develop those critical skills? So it means we're doing job shadowing, we're doing mentoring, the people that have been in the department for long are placed, with others who they must mentor. Are we having those programs that are agile so that if a specialized skilled person leaves tomorrow, at least there is a fallback with somebody that has been working with this. I think for me, Chair, whilst we are going to put this as the problem, I don't think solutions, and do not exist, not only in this department but generally, on how you deal with a specialized environment, because the issue of COE doesn't look good, in an environment where we're saying on one hand we are busy with growth for jobs, but on the other hand, we are sending back money or reallocating money because we seem not to be able to finance, things that we are supposed to be financing, particularly those that yield, the very service delivery or delivery of the mandate of the department. So I just wanted, I think, to just emphasize, Chair, that point. And then lastly, Chair, I just want to understand the 200,000 in program 1 under administration that is provided for the shortfall on travel expenses. Can we be told what are these travel expenses specifically that in program 1 would now have to be funded with an additional 200,000, assuming that this is an increased pressure of traveling? What exactly is this anticipated travel from program 1? Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. We have Member Murray.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I just want to ask if the department could explain page 199 in the blue book, the adjusted estimates. There's an amount of that was shifted to I think program 2.1, subprogram 2.1, 450,000 payment of leave credits of official upon exiting the employ of the department. Now, I just wanted to know if they can unpack that for me. It's quite an excessive amount. I've looked at the others. It's all smaller amounts. I just wanted to know in terms of, I'm sure there's a limit placed on the number of days that can be paid out. But I wanted to know if someone can explain for me, looking at that amount, it's quite excessive unless it is unpacked for me. Then in terms of the, let me see here, the 432,000 also in program 3, provision for prepayment of the online legal resources subscription. I just wanted to know what exactly is the 432,000. I know it's related to legal resources. Perhaps if they could just unpack that. A concern that I just want to raise in terms of my first point, in terms of the exits, the leave credits. Are we, or is this department spending more money on exits than on retaining employee staff? Do we have a futuristic vision of a incentive scheme where this money could rather have been used to build into retaining staff as an incentive? That's just what I see from this. And then my second point, Mr. Chair, or concern is just on pages 211 to 217. I don't see any provision being made for unavoidable, unforeseen events. And we know what's happening in our space in terms of the environment, in terms of invasions of land. I don't see any provisions being made. Perhaps if the department could just unpack that for me and give an explanation there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Murray. And then the final member for this second and last round of questions is Member Stoffel. Unless we have any burning questions after that, we'll then get concluding remarks and then take it to the vote. But Member Stoffel.
Thank you, Chairperson. Am I still audible, Chair?
100%. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair. Chair, my question is on page 207, and that's on program 7, development and planning. Chair, let me go straight to my question. Now that the department projects have an increase of 7.6 million in expenditure during the second half of 2025 and 2026, largely due to that 5.1 million transfer to municipalities. Now, my question is that what mechanisms are in place to ensure timely disbursement and effective utilization of these municipalities' transfers? The reason why I'm asking that, Chair, is that currently we are sitting with municipalities whereby this department within the municipalities is not being activated yet. And you are sitting with municipalities whereby in this department, there is no sufficient staff who can, or trained staff who can deal with these environmental affairs, especially when it comes to waste management, and when it comes to landfill sites, and when it comes to all those kind of things. Now the same department is transferring money to these municipalities, knowingly that there is that shortcoming. And hence I'm asking, what mechanism is there in place to ensure timely disbursement and also accountability from these municipalities in terms of these transfers? Or are we just transferring money to municipalities to create more problems that we already have? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Stoffel, and thank you, colleagues, for all of those questions. Minister and Mr. Gerber, I'm going to hand over to you for your final responses and concluding remarks, unless there are any other burning questions. So I will hand then over to the Minister first. Minister.
Sadiq and the team can answer and respond to the questions.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the members for the second round of questions. In terms of the questions, comments by Minister, Member Nkondlo, in terms of whether we could be doing better planning and the other measures to prevent us being in a situation where we have to ask for adjustment and surrender and for reallocation over the MTEF. Obviously, we're tracking the reasons for, in terms of those particular areas where that under expenditure is coming from. And many of those are unforeseen. So although we do have a specific turnover that we generally see across departments, and of course we're doing that benchmarking throughout, sometimes the turnover is quite concentrated. Some of it, when someone is retiring, in terms of the normal retirement age, then we know when that's coming up and one can plan for that. But when people have reached the age of 60, then there's no decision to be made by the employer. They can simply retire. It's only when they applying for, in terms of the new schemes for early retirement, that there is a decision. But otherwise, under normal circumstances, anybody that's reached 60 are simply able to retire. But in terms of the vacancies that then occur, that is unforeseen in terms of which components you would have that. And then those recruitment processes must run. But yes, to make sure that we then timelessly work with the Department of the Premier, the Corporate Service Centre, the comment and the recommendation about the Red Tape Reduction Centre. We are busy working in terms of the ease of doing government promotion work, where we are looking at the different processes And yes, if the resources are required in the Department of the Premier, in terms of the teams that are working and providing that service, then it's important to then address those needs as well. On our side, yes, it's the same teams that are under pressure in terms of where the vacancies are, that are themselves then responsible to recruit. But we are looking at, how do we make sure that those processes are efficient and effective as possible. It's the same with the EIA decision making. We're not only chasing timeframes, we also want to make sure that we're making good decisions. And the same with recruitment. It's not only about the speed of filling a post, it's also to make sure that it's competency based, that we achieve employment equity targets, and all of those factors come into play, and not only the speed of the process, but yes, we need to make sure that we pull post faster. I'll ask see if Johannes to come in terms to speak to the travel expenses. I might add to the response, but Johannes, if you can speak to that, as well as in terms of the leave credits, we'll maybe ask, you can maybe give a first response in terms of the online legal subscription, but we can have the colleagues also speak to that. But over to you, Johannes.
Thank you, HOD. In terms of the 200,000 that was mentioned, just to make it clear that within our current baseline, when we compiled the original budget, we weren't able or in a position to make any funding available to the HOD and the Minister for any foreign travel. Considering the Minister's portfolio, dealing with basically 2 departments, and the number of international events around the environment, it is necessary for the Minister to engage with foreign dignitaries, and then also on the various foreign platforms, where it is now climate change, or where it is on other related environmental matters. There is a need for Minister and then HOD also to travel foreign. So in terms of our budget, there were no funding available. So we had to apply for the revenue retention to make provision for foreign traveling. The leave gratuity and the leave credits, we are obligated by law to pay out any leave that the official hasn't utilized. In this particular case, it was a long-serving official who retired. So throughout the years, officials accumulated leave because they weren't in a position to take leave. And then the last few years, the leave dispensation changed. So officials had to utilize their leave within an 18-month period. If you don't use it, you will lose it. But mainly for previous, as we call it, cap leave, we are obliged then to pay out this amount. Considering that it was a senior official within the department on a higher notch, so that then equated to the amount to be paid out to the official. On the prepayment on the legal resources, so this is a bit of an accounting treatment challenge or matter. So in terms of the modified cash standard, when we pay for services not yet rendered, then we need to treat it as a prepayment. In this particular case, during 24-25, we procure the services for online legal subscriptions. So these are online tools like Subinet and LexisNexis, where officials within the department are granted access to these online platforms to then, in this case, get the latest on court cases, any legal related matters within this space. So officials can then, through this platform, access that information and then utilize the information within a workspace. It is unfortunately a subscription that needs to be paid upfront to get access to this. And through the accounting treatment, although it was paid in 2024-25, we were only able now to expense it in the current year as it is associated with the use by the officials thereof. So that speaks to that. Just in general, in terms of the observation around unavoidable expenditure.
Sorry, Mr. Fritz, I don't want to rush you, but we do have to kind of wrap up. So if you can just try and make it as succinct as possible. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so unavoidable, normally the adjustment estimate process in terms of the PFMM makes provision for it, but in this case, there is no unavoidable expenditure that we had to accommodate. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you for those responses and for all of the inputs from the officials as well as the inputs from all of the members. Member Stoffel, I have seen your hand. Unfortunately, we have another meeting that is going to start at 9:45 that we're all part of. So I'm going to give you an opportunity just to raise your point, but we aren't going to be able to entertain another round of questions now. Otherwise, the next meeting won't be able to start on time. We still have to do the vote. But over to you, Member Stoffel, quickly.
Chair, it's not a question. I don't think they have answered my question. The last one, in terms of the transfers to the municipalities.
I'll respond to that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Kaba, if you can just quickly respond.
Yes. Apologies. I'll keep it short. There is a very specific process with the municipality. So that's for the RSIP program, where there's an implementation protocol in place between ourselves and the municipalities. There's very specific process in terms of project selection. And then there's a monitoring system in place where we also go on site to track performance in terms of the different stages, but also in terms of tracking the expenditure. Yes, there's different financial year timeframes there, which does cause complications. But we manage that closely. And then there are things that, of course, happen on a project, as was touched on in terms of certain things that need to be in place that are causing delays. But we're managing that throughout. We can't get that allocation, for a longer period. So once the allocation is confirmed, we follow that process with the municipalities to do the project selection, transfer the funding, and then manage that expenditure and the performance on the projects very closely. And then annual review of where we're at and how we are doing and how we need to do better. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, HOD. Minister, you and the HOD are thanked for your inputs and your participation in the meeting. Thank you very much. You are also now more than welcome to log off, and we will then consider the vote and the rest of the matters on our agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the committee, and thank you to my team. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Right, colleagues, just while the Minister and the HOD and the officials log off, I am going to thank you, Mr. Kaba. I am then going to put the vote together, pages 195 to 219, and PDF pages 218 to 242, if we're reading it in the PDF, to put the vote to the committee, and that is the committee report on vote 9 on the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill. I am going to ask members if you are all in agreement to support the vote. Is there any member who does not support the vote, or on behalf of their body, their party, or an outside body wish to not support the vote? Please raise your hand. We have Member Stoffel. Member Stoffel.
Thank you, Chair. As the African National Congress, we want to express our minority view, and that's to say that as the African National Congress, we don't support the vote based on the decrease in the adjustment. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Stoffel. Member Murray.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, on behalf of the Freedom Front Plus, with the concerns raised, we do not support this vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Murray. And Member Constable.
Thank you, Chair. The patriotical lines for now abstain from voting.
Okay, all right. So then if we can then note, if those are the only objections, I'm then taking it that Member Van Wyk, Member Wessels, Member Masipa, and I will add myself as well, those four are in agreement with the vote, correct? Thank you. I see the thumbs up coming through. So, Mr. Kutsia, if we can then record that in terms of the majority of members on the committee, the vote is supported, but there is a minority view being expressed by both the ANC and the Freedom Front Plus in terms of opposing the vote, and then Member Constable, who has abstained.
Noted, Chairperson, I have flighted the committee report. If you wish to read it into record, then we can conclude.
Okay. So the report of Standing Committee on Local Government, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning on Vote 9, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill B5 2025, dated 5th December 2025, as follows. The Standing Committee on Local Government, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, having deliberated on the subject of Vote 9, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill B5 2025, referred to the committee in accordance with Standing Rule 188, reports that it supports the vote. In accordance with Standing Rule 90, the African National Congress and the Freedom Front Plus expressed their minority view that they do not support the vote. Colleagues, thank you very much. We did have one other item on the agenda, which was the minutes of our meeting of the 2nd of December. Those have been circulated. Do we have a proposer and a seconder for the adoption of those minutes before we conclude? Member Masipa is proposing. Do we have a seconder? Member Wessels, thank you. I see Member Van Wyk as well, so we've got concurrence there. Colleagues, thank you very much. Mr. Kutsia, can I just confirm there's nothing else for us to tick off on this agenda?
Chair, no, we concluded, so we can.
Can I test my mic? Oh,
yes, Member Masipa, you're back with us in the land of the living.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Good.
can.
Thank you.
Much better. All right, Member Masipa, we're going to throw the rugby ball to you for the next meeting, and we'll see you in a few minutes. We'll grab a coffee, and then we will reconvene for our second part of our meeting at 11:30. Thank you, colleagues. See you all in a bit.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you, Chairperson.